Hello and welcome to the Maximize Potential podcast. I'm Jon.
And I'm Scott.
This is our first episode of the podcast where we're going to be going over everything fitness related. Some of the topics we're going to talk about are general fitness, sports performance training for athletes, diet and nutrition, mobility and stretching, and goal setting and mindset. So this is a new thing for us and we're really excited about it. I've never done a podcast before. Have you ever done a podcast before?
Never hosted one, no.
So thank you for being here. Thanks for being along with the journey for us. The plan behind this podcast is to dive a little bit deeper into topics surrounding the fitness community. We know there's a lot of things out there, a lot of myths that we want to try and debunk. There's a lot of flashy exercises, fad diets, everything like that we kind of want to bring in some experts in the field, sit around, have a tabletop discussion, and just kind of see what we can do to help you guys get closer to your fitness goals. So that being said, we kind of want to go in a little bit of background of who we are, besides just saying that we are the owners of Maximize Potential. And we want to talk about the background and how we kind of got started into our fitness journey. So a little bit of my background. I'm Jon. Yes, we are both the owners of Maximize Potential. My background, I had a mentor in high school. His name was Leo Ward. I started working out with him my summer of my 8th grade year going into 9th grade. He was, I don't know how my mom found him. I guess he had like an ad in the newspaper or something like that, word of mouth or something. But he was the former head and strength and conditioning coach of Illinois University during the 80s and 90s whenever they won all the Big Ten championships. So he was a very knowledgeable, very legit strength coach. And for some reason, I guess he just had a passion for helping people, but he only charged $20 a month for a full everything programmed. We did speed training in the summertime where we would go and run sprints and use the Exergenie that a lot of our clients know about here. Actually, the ladder that we have, the orange ladder that's about 10 yards long that we have at the facility, that's Coach Ward's. So his training philosophy was a little bit different than what your kind of raw strength coaching styles were that you kind of see now at like Alabama or Oregon or anything like that. So he kind of took me under his wing and taught me the reasons why we were doing what we were doing, the movements and everything, opposed to just saying, go squat, now go bench. So that's kind of the training philosophy that I've adopted over the years. I guess for the past 15 years now, him and I have been in contact together. So he was the big thing that got me started into sports performance training or strength and conditioning. I actually I was dead set on going to college and then being a D1 strength coach. Luckily, during my undergrad, I had an internship at a D1 football team, and I found out that really wasn't what I wanted to do long term. It was really cool. Yeah, we had athletes that ran a 4.2. I had one guy I was spotting bench. He was a defensive lineman and he put up like 450 for 5 reps. And it was awesome, but that atmosphere was just something I didn't really want because there was 40, 50, 60 kids at once. I couldn't really build that relationship with them that I like in the smaller setting. So I learned right away, or my undergrad, I learned that I did not want to go in the D1. I wanted to kind of go more private sector. So when I enrolled in my master's program at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where I did my undergrad, I was fortunate enough to learn how to start my own business through the master's program. I took some, facility management courses. I did a mock facility makeup and business plan and all that stuff. So it really kind of led me to being a private sector strength coach where about 2 or 3 months before I graduated from Indiana University of Pennsylvania with my master's, I was actually fortunate enough to get a sports performance coaching job in Irwin, Pennsylvania. I believe that's where this one was. It was called National Speed and Strength Academy. I was a sports performance coach there. After 2 or 3 months, I was promoted to head sports performance coach at the new branch location in Latrobe, PA, where I was the head coach there for about a year and a half. And then from there, I transitioned to the the director of sports performance at Velocity Sports Performance in Westchester, New York, so right above Manhattan, where Scott came in. He was an intern with me at first, and then we transitioned him over to a full-time sports performance coach. And then from there, we kind of wound up in Texas.
Yeah, so I'm Scott, co-owner of Maximize Potential here in Central Texas, and really happy to be starting this podcast. I think it's going to be a really amazing thing for us to provide you guys content and really hear who we are a little bit more. So I started off, I was a swimmer for 12 years, competitive swimmer, was always in the pool. We had I swam for a year in college, but we always had some kind of a workout program with the, or dry land work, they called it, with the swimming. And so I was always really interested in that stuff and how to improve yourself and improve your body and improve your performance. I was always just really interested in that. I used to work out in the basement at my house when I was a kid, like growing up. Didn't have any clue what I was doing, but always really interested in it and just like to gather more information. I was in college, my freshman and sophomore year. I used to hang out with these guys that were, pseudo bodybuilder type and had that mentality, and I did a couple things with them, and I also tried the CrossFit thing for a little while. But it always seemed like there was like some missing pieces, so I was always trying to learn more and improve and really, just learn as much as I could. It was always a hobby, but I just loved to learn more and more about it. So I graduated with an undergraduate degree in biology, and my original track was med school, but I decided that wasn't really the lifestyle that I wanted. I wanted to get out and kind of experience, and I didn't want to be stuck in school for another how many ever years. So I decided I wanted to go out and get some experience. So I moved back home to Indiana, Pennsylvania, where Jon was. Jon and I met. We were working at the same place at the time, and he was doing his master's in exercise physiology. And I've always had an interest in this stuff. So when I found that out, and I was working out, and we ended up working out at the same place. So we started at Uptown Fitness, this little downtown gym in the basement of a old building in downtown Indiana. And we would we were both really still starting out. I look back at some of the videos that we had from then, and
I look back at some of the programs I made back then.
The programs too. and the videos, like we were just total amateurs compared to where we are now, but just really cool to look back and to remember that that's what we were always just really interested in it. We worked really well together. We worked out, and we kept in contact a lot. And so I decided to do my master's in exercise physiology, just like Jon had, or I enrolled in the same program. And during that time, I was still thinking of a higher education. I wanted to maybe do physical therapy. And I knew in the back of my head I wanted to work with athletes, because if you get into this kind of field, a lot of people really do want to work with athletes. Like, that's their dream, I feel like, for strength and conditioning, Like, they have options, or for exercise phys, right? They have options like cardiac rehab and pulmonary rehab and positions like that, but I feel like a lot of people really want more but don't necessarily find it, I guess.
Yeah.
Or at least what I saw. And so I was thinking physical therapy. So I went through the whole track, the whole program, with the intent of going into physical therapy school after. And so I did a full summer physical therapy internship, so I got to work with a ton of different people there, really working on exercise progression and bringing these people from a knee replacement back to walking up and down the stairs, people in their older age, as well as some athletes that came through. But that was my real first experience working with clients in a training setting, which was really cool. But again, it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. I still felt like there was missing pieces. I had learned and studied a lot of my own mobility because I had a pretty gnarly shoulder injury, and I just was so interested in how some of the mobility techniques that were coming out, like with Kelly Starrett and the mobility WOD. That was like when he was just starting, and how just taking a lacrosse ball and kind of like understanding the way the body works and improving range of motion. Like, I had gone to a year and a half of physical therapy, and they said I was stuck at like 70% range of motion overhead, and that's just the way it was going to be. And even with my own practice, I was able to gain a ton ton more motion and function out of my shoulder, where I'm still extremely athletic and able to lift and do pretty much everything that I want to now. So I just thought there was a lot of missing pieces. So physical therapy ended up going out the window, and I was kind of directionless for a little while, and Jon and I would talk every once in a while. And I was working at the time. I'd been at the same place that we were at for like 3 years, and I remember texting you. I was like, dude, I want your life. I was like, that sounds so fun. I was like, he's telling me about working with the kids up there and how, they're in the gym and how it's just a really, really awesome time. And I was like, I want that life. Literally like 2 days later, Jon texted me. He's like, hey, I got you an internship up here. When can you start? And so I think it was that day or the day after I put my 2 weeks in at my place I was working in, and I packed my stuff up and I moved to New York to go do this internship with Jon. And so started off as an intern there and went through the whole program, and it was awesome. We had a ton of experience. We worked, with a ton of athletes. We were at the the Rangers hockey facility in New York and Westchester. We got
that
to
was
do
like 500 kids a week or something crazy.
There was quite a few kids where I got just experience with so many different demographics and groups of people and ages, and we used to even had adult training, at that facility too. So
yeah.
I did get some experience working with adults and personal training, and I had never really done any of this before for real. So it was an awesome learning experience for me, and I just soaked up as much knowledge as I could. And then I ended up getting another job as a traveling personal trainer to kind of supplement my income, and that was another amazing experience up in New York, where I would travel around and drive to people's homes and give them an hour-long workout with what I could carry into their home. I had kettlebells and dumbbells, battle ropes, a big duffel bag, some free weights and stuff, like a easy bar. And that was really great too for experience. And then we picked a day where we decided we wanted to start our own thing. And we literally picked a day and we drove here to Texas.
So I got a question for you.
Sure.
What do you think would be like the tipping point, the moment when you realized that you wanted to kind of dive a career into fitness related anything? Was there like a certain moment?
I mean, it's still hitting me, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like when we were in, me moving up to New York was because I didn't end up going the physical therapy track, and I really didn't have a direction. I was like, cool, I'll go up, get some more experience. If I want, school will always be there. If I want to go back to physical therapy school, it'll be there. So I might as well go up, get some experience in my field and do something different. I was basically just doing the same thing. I was living, in Indiana at home, which there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but, I was working at the same place and doing the same things, and I just wasn't going anywhere. And so I knew I needed to make a big change in order to make something happen. So moving up there was started off as just gaining more knowledge and experience. And then I just loved connecting with the people and I loved the knowledge, and I started to realize that through my studies and my own practice and experience that I had so much more information in my head than 90% of people. Like, it blew me away. Like, I guess I didn't have the confidence to go into it before, because I didn't realize like how much we actually knew.
Right.
Just from our own experience and paying attention and talking to different people and like just gathering knowledge through those years really paid off, I think. So tell them about just like our experience at the sports performance gym in New York. Like, just a little bit of the experience that we had and like why it may have like pushed us in this direction, like how we ended up owning our own place. Like, because that's always a really cool thought for me, is like, if we had a different experience there, we probably wouldn't have thought about opening our own place, but we knew that like we could do this.
Right. I mean, how deep do you want me to go?
Nah, as much as you want. Yeah, go ahead.
So, well, I mean, I could go pretty deep into this topic. I'm trying to think of some things that I can just kind of... I think I realized that I could kind of do my own. So let me backtrack a little bit. I've always wanted to own my own gym, whether it was sports performance training, fitness, adult fitness, something. I've always wanted to own my own gym. I thought that I would have been better as my own boss because a lot of just different. I felt restricted in certain ways. Like at my first job, there were certain lesson plans that you had to stick to. Same thing with the other place. There's certain things that I felt that needed to be updated, but you couldn't do that because you were confined to
their business model,
to their model and everything they were doing. And then I don't know if I'm just gonna get completely way off track here, but a little bit threatened by the amount of knowledge that I had because I was always researching and reading and getting certifications and staying up with everything, where I don't want to say I would question things, but I would be like, this is a little bit, studies show this is better, why don't we try this?
Right. No, that's 100%. I think I had a really similar experience with the physical therapy office. I knew like I said, about the lacrosse ball stuff, and then and that's just, self-myofascial release, how simple it is to kind of get some relief for certain things, not all. But when I asked the physical therapist about that kind of stuff, like, there's new techniques and there's new things out there that work really, really well. Like, why don't those get done in this setting? And she told me that a lot of physical therapists and chiropractors and things like that will go to these certifications or these continuing ed stuff and then come back and do the same thing they've been doing for years just because it's habit. So I think that, do you think that goes along with like a fear of growth, or like you know what I mean? Like how certain people really progress and they make things happen, like the big companies, like Facebook is always improving, period. Like if something happened tomorrow that proved to be 1,000 times better than what they're doing right now, I guarantee Facebook would switch everything.
Yeah.
Because they're more about what works and what's going to provide the best results rather than what they've been doing. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like just being too comfortable.
Yeah.
Like if it's not broken, why fix it?
Right.
So the place I was at first initially was there for probably 5 or 6 years before I was there, I think. And what they were doing was working, so why change anything?
Mm-hmm.
The other place was a franchise. If it worked back then, why change anything?
Right.
So I think just the want to not change things, but the want to kind of do my own thing where I knew certain aspects could have been improved.
Right.
I think is one of the big things that kind of pushed us.
Right. I think it's that like improvement mindset too, though. That's like such a big thing I do a lot of reading on like the personal development side, and like you have to be improving in order to be fulfilled and to be happy. And if you're not, you either are growing or dying. It's like such an overdone quote, but you either grow or you die. That's just the way life works. So if you're not progressing forward, then you're stagnant in the water and it gets old.
Yeah.
So anyway, now we're in Central Texas and we have a 3,200 square foot inside facility and about 5,000 square feet of outdoor turf at our gym here in Central Texas. But it didn't start that way. So we were in New York and training, and we had talked about, branching out and doing our own thing. We were just looking through some stuff a minute ago, and we found some old information from a website that we planned to start. I think we did actually buy the domain.
Did we?
I think. I'm pretty sure we bought the domain, and we were like ready to get going with like building the site. We had written content. We were going to do some online workout stuff because we knew we wanted to do our own thing and that we wanted to do it better. We just wanted to, which is so funny that, we're called Maximize Potential. But we just always knew that we wanted to do it and we wanted to do it better. So we were training a guy up in New York that was he Division II or?
Lehman College.
Yeah.
I think it's in the Bronx.
So he was playing baseball there, and he was training with us at the sports performance facility, and he really, really enjoyed what we taught as well, and we connected very well on just the plane of he really liked what we did, and it was really helping him. And so he suggested, had been from, or had a house down here in Central Texas, and had mentioned this area being just a huge youth sports hub where they play football and baseball and softball pretty much 365 days a year, but there is no structured sports performance training, not really, not widely done, especially in this area, although it's a huge hub for youth sports. So we threw around the idea, laugh about it here and there. We're like, yeah, sure, that'd be really cool. Like, move to Texas, ha ha ha. But
yeah, because we've never been to Texas.
no, never been to Texas in my life. And a lot of people have those dreams and those thoughts. They always say, like, oh, I'd love to own a gym someday, or I'd love to do that someday. That was kind of the stage that we were at. And so my traveling personal training job, super amazing company, and they're so great. I love those guys. But I was going on a family vacation for like 10 days or something, and I couldn't get all that time off like appropriately because I had clients. They were my clients. I had to take care of them, and 10 days is a lot of time to get covered by other trainers. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just go to Texas. Let's drop everything. Let's pick a day and let's freaking go. So I put in my time to quit my job, and that was my, I went on that little family vacation, and then John and I had picked a day, and it was August 11th, 10th.
It was August 10th. Do you remember what day that you put your 2 weeks in? Because I remember my day.
Well,
or your last day of work.
Mine was the 2 months before, because I had the whole month of July off because I put in my last day was like June 24th or something like that, because the vacation was at the end of June and the beginning of July. I think I got home after like July 8th or something like that. So, and then yours was
July 29th.
July 29th.
July 29th.
So we had our own little vacation breaks at home, and everybody was just like, so what are you doing? You're just driving to Texas? And I was like, I kept saying, I said, I'm driving to Texas to start a business, and this is what we're going to do. I didn't have any clue really, other than those words that I spoke, to be honest with you. Not a clue. People are like, well, how are you going to do it? Like, what's your plan? I'm like, I don't have one, and I don't care. I'm like, we're driving there, and I'm starting a business. That's it. That was period. That was it. And so we picked that day, and we were like, well, let's have a little fun on the way down. So we stopped in Nashville and New Orleans, and then made our way over to Texas. So we had like a 5-day road trip down to Texas, and we got here on like August 14th or 15th. And that's where we started. We had a logo before that. That was it.
Yeah, I think the logo got sent back to me on Fiverr for like the 12th, maybe. On our way down,
Yeah,
I think
on
we
our
got the
way down.
logo down.
And it was originally maximum potential, and that's
Yeah.
what we were like, cool. And that logo our logo is so cool. If you haven't seen it, you gotta check it out. But such an awesome logo, and that was all we had when we got here.
Yep.
And so we spent a lot of days over at the Panera Bread.
Hours and hours at Panera.
Using their Wi-Fi, and that was basically how it started. I remember just sitting over there and like just researching basically how to start a business. That
Yep.
was literally we got here, and that was how it started. So we created a Facebook page, and then we created an Instagram, and then we registered with the state, and like all that other normal housekeeping stuff that you have to do and learn how to do. And so then what we were just chilling, still doing the Panera Bread thing. I think we did it for about a week or two.
Yeah.
We were in Panera, like just brainstorming and just getting things situated,
Emailing every single
Oh my
team,
gosh, we
every single
forgot about
high
that.
school.
Like just random people.
Just everybody that we saw or...
We went through all the schools and like different organizations in the area,
Yeah.
and we were just two guys from Pennsylvania. Oh man, I'd love to look back at some of those, like the wording or like the verbiage that we used to see like how we sold ourselves. We didn't get a lot of response back at that point, but
We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't need any. We only
No.
needed one person.
no, we only needed one person. So we got a Gold's Gym membership because we didn't have anywhere to work out, and we're like, well, that's still important to us, so we always work out. So we got a Gold's Gym membership, and we started going there and just do our workouts. And I think it was about a week, then a weekend we're getting quotes for business cards at local places, just driving around kind of meeting people.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so we walk into this printing shop, and he tells us the price of business cards, and it was like ridiculous, and we're like, yep, we're gonna go with Vistaprint. So anyways, we walk out, and across the street there's this little 3,000 square foot gym.
Yeah.
Right? Here's a 3,000 square foot gym. And we're like, oh man, they were relatively new as well, like 6 months in.
Yeah, something like that. Pretty new.
They do a lot of like bodybuilding and personal training in there. And we walked in and, the owner showed us around a little bit. And the first thing I noticed was that their plates were from Velocity Sports Performance. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, it's like we just walked into a Velocity, and I started talking to him about that and told him like what we were doing and like what we wanted to do. And he's like, oh, well, I rent space to trainers. Do you guys want
I forgot about that.
to, you want to come in and like, try it here? He's like, if you guys, I have people coming in all the time. I'll send them your way. Like, you guys seem awesome and knowledgeable and you have a lot of experience. Like, and we told him what we'll do. He's like, and a lot of my people have kids. So it was like, are you kidding me? Like, we just walked right into that. We had no idea. And he was so, like, just such a blessing to walk in there that day and to make that happen. So I think he gave us like a month free.
Yeah, first month was free.
First month was free.
To get us
and
going.
we had then, at the same gym, we had met this other 2 guys that were just starting out a t-shirt printing business. So I think we met him at the gym.
I think we didn't.
I think we had to have met Chad at the gym.
I think maybe.
Because I remember he worked out there. He was
Yeah.
friends with Chris Tyler. So he had just started out a printing business, and so we were telling him about what we're doing, and we're like, cool. Well, John and I always had a professional vision for Maximize Potential, and so we're like, well, we can't wear our normal gym clothes every day, like when we're training people, like that's, we want to. So we went and got our logo printed on some T-shirts, and it was like their first run with a couple of the different T-shirts too. I still have the original one, like the original.
The original was so bad because I remember Alec wanted either a PNG file or a vector file of our logo and what we wanted on the back.
Yeah, we knew what that was.
And I had no idea what that was, so I went to Vistaprint on my phone, turned it sideways, screenshot the back of our business card, sent it to him, and then that's why it came out.
And those direct-to-garment printers will print every detail. So like if it's not a high-quality photo, like you have a little bit of pixelation in the image, and it'll print that pixelation. So basically the back of our shirt was like a big MP and sports performance training, and then a bunch of like garbled stuff below that, and it wasn't that bad, but so then we, it was probably a week into us being there. Like we had just hooked up with this guy, we like rented some space, and we got the shirts. We're like a week. Yeah. And we show up in uniforms, and like people are already starting to like give us looks, and like of course they're like, who are these people? Like we just walked in there out of nowhere. And if any of you guys are from or know Colleen, then you can know why that's funny. But we just were very different from what people I think expected.
Yeah.
And we held a really high standard to what we did. And then I was going to say something next. Oh, we went over to Staples to get some office stuff. I think maybe some folders. Like we mentioned earlier, we were working out of our duffel bags. So we went and got some like filing folders so we could keep stuff in it. Like we felt so official. And we're checking out, and this guy behind the counter, we just noticed our shirts and the logo on our shirts, and he's like, what is Maximize Potential? And so we were like, looked at each other, and we're like, well, what is Maximize Potential? Not really, but we told him that what we do, we work with athletes, and we started developing our sales pitch pretty much that day.
Yeah.
Like working with athletes, helping them improve speed and strength, explosive power, and helping them, stay healthy and injury-free. And he's like, oh, no way. I'm playing football. I'm playing college football next year. Like, can you guys help me?
Yeah.
And we got our first client there at Staples. And
I think that might have been the point where I realized that we might be onto something.
Yeah.
Not only was it just an idea, but somebody else bought into what we had to offer.
Right.
It
like
wasn't
almost
just
immediately.
like, oh, I think this is a good idea. Someone was like, oh, that is a good idea.
Right. They're like, oh, wow, that's cool. I've never even seen that, or, there's nothing like that in this area. That was what we got all the time. They're like, there's nothing like that in the area, which is why we're here. But, yeah, that's so cool, like, to remember that. And then we sat at Panera again, hours a day, just learning Facebook, basically. We started the Facebook page, and that was all we did. We didn't have a website or anything, and knew not one thing about Facebook ads or anything, but we sat there, and that's how we started. And we gathered onesie, twosie clients, and then, I think we started off with a Square, like a Square financial software.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Square
started
Up
off
or
with a
whatever.
Square, like just a card reader, and we ran a lot of stuff through that at first, and then once we were, making a little bit more money, we went with like a different management software. But that's the long story of how we got started. Pretty much the nitty gritty details of what we did.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
So it was like about 450 square foot piece of turf that we were pretty much working on, where we did all of our speed training. We didn't do much strength training back then because classes were only an hour long.
Yeah. Did a little bit with some of the older kids, but mostly just speed and mobility, really.
Yeah.
Like recovery too. We taught some of those kids about recovery and just teaching them how to move better, and it just started to progress. And then we added I think we just always had advertised that we could do personal training.
Right.
Or like adult fitness. I don't remember what the original. I have to look back at what the original ad said, but we got a handful of adult clients too, like onesie twosies as well, or maybe it was like a parent. They're still with us.
Yeah.
BJ and his kids started with us, and him and his wife were training with me as like a personal training sessions, and that's how our like barbell club was formed. It was started off with them, and then her, Jen, BJ, and Marina.
Yeah.
And then that transformed into our like barbell club because it was like peak hours. Like while their kids were training, I would do adult workouts with them, and then we started getting more and more, and we started developing this little like adult fitness class, and it just kept going from there. Man. And the crazy thing was we were only at that other gym for 9 months.
Really?
Yeah. It felt like,
I guess it was 9 months.
I mean, when I say that we weren't messing around when we got here, we were not messing around. It was like we got here, I think we worked out at Gold's for 1 week before we found that other gym. Like we had signed a month contract with Gold's, and then like the next couple days we were like, oh, well, now we don't even need that because we just got the, into the new place. But yeah, about 450 square feet of turf, and we used to come in there early too, and we'd have our backpacks and our duffel bags with different bands and different other things that we would bring with us, and our own lifting gear and laptops, and just run the business from the boxes in the back of the gym, basically. And we started to create some hype. I think the first big thing that we did was the holiday speed clinic.
Yeah.
So we made an event on Facebook, and we boosted it. We just regular boosted it. I think we got 30 kids.
Yeah, we got a lot of kids.
I mean, we didn't charge much at the time, maybe $25 for 2 days, but again, we had no clue what the heck we were doing. We ran an ad, we boosted it, and we had, I think, probably 30 kids at that event, and we just would do everything we could to make it happen. We should shoot videos. We had no idea about videos or like posting consistently or like mashing up videos or anything, but I think the footage from that holiday speed clinic, or maybe it was the spring break one after that, but it was one of like the biggest ads that we ever did, was just a little mashup video that we made on our cell phone.
Yep.
To put on our Facebook page, and it just is crazy how much response we got just seeing these kids and how much fun they had. What do you think is like the big thing that separated us at the beginning?
I think it was kind of, well, when they saw the training, they realized that it was a little bit different. There's a little bit of a purpose behind everything that we did. It wasn't just kind of cones and ladders where it was just kind of the same thing every day, very monotonous.
We do cones and ladders, but
right, yeah, we do footwork stuff and everything. I think it's beneficial in its time, but it wasn't the same thing all the time. We had a lot more structure. Like we had class times. You show up on time. We do a warm up together as a group. We do speed training together as a group. We do lifting together as a group. We cool down together as a group. It was very structured. I think that was a big thing where it wasn't just kind of okay, show up around 9 o'clock, and whoever shows up, we'll start here,
Yeah,
whatever,
like,
whatever.
Oh, we're lifting from 9 to noon. Like, show up and just
Yeah, it was very
get your lift in.
Yeah, it was really structured. It was really, and I think even when they just heard us talk, well, we did our evals. We did free evals for
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
too. I think that was the biggest thing. Was we always, since day one, we've always done free athletic evaluations.
Yeah, so that we could show people the value.
Right.
Definitely a big
Because I think that might be
difference.
the biggest thing that sets us apart is we can kind of look at somebody and watch how they move, and then we can tell them how we're going to be able to help them.
Right. And it's still like such a big point of value for clients, new clients. We've done like probably 600. What did we say the other 600 evals?
Something like that, yeah.
And we have like just a huge stack of papers that we've done over the years, and we do like a modified FMS at the time. I don't know, we might have done a regular FMS. I don't remember. We modified from the
I
beginning.
think we did modify a little bit.
But a little modified FMS, and we would run them through like baseline numbers. Like, I just didn't realize how much extra added value that gave to people, at the time. That's just really true. And I think the way we coach too
Yeah.
makes a big difference.
We're really relatable with the kids.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things to hear from the parents, and we hear it a lot, is that the kids are like, even like 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, they're like waiting in the car for mom and dad. They're like, hey, we got to go to train. Like, let's go. I'm going to be late. Not the other way around where the parent has to drag the kid kicking and screaming to baseball practice. Like, we really make the training fun and relatable to them. I tell our interns all the time, like, when you're going through an evaluation process with them, like, any chance you can get to relate it specifically to that person, that individual, they are like 1,000 times more likely to follow through or to want to be here. You got to give people that why behind it. I think is a really big important thing. Like, why are they here? Most kids, when you ask them that question, they'll look right at mom and dad.
Yeah.
So for them to start to understand, like, to get these kids to think and to open up their minds a little bit, like, why am I here? Like, what am I doing? Get them to think is just really awesome to see, and they just love to be here. So I touched on the, bringing the why to the kids and how they just buy in so much more, and even the adult clients. If you know the why you're doing something, you're going to be much more likely to follow through and to continue it with, passion and with energy. So in closing today, we want to, have you guys start thinking about your why on your fitness journey. We can help you guys with the how, but the why is up to you. So thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it.
Stay tuned, guys. We're going to have some pretty awesome guests coming on. We're going to talk about some pretty cool things. So stay tuned and ask us any questions you have. Thanks.